And then join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Welcome to our August County Council meeting. Noted that all council members are present. We've seen each other a lot the last 2 days. If you see dollar signs in our eyeballs, it's because we've been in the middle of all day budgeting the last 2 days. So glad to be here tonight with you. Thank you for being here. We'll save any public comment opportunities at the end of the meeting. First item for us on the agenda is approval of the July 16th meeting minutes. That all council members receive those via email.
Motion that we accept them as presented in the email.
Thank you. A motion by Ray Black, second by Chris Shelton. Sorry. Any additional? It has been a long day. Corrections, any additional comments, questions, concerns, deletions? All right. All those in favor for approval of those minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. All right, thank you. I'm going to start this on this side. We'll sign that front document, the record of those minutes. And Heather, you're in luck. And the room's full of Heathers.
That's right. Oh, do you want to go?
Heather White in our HR. She's gonna Chuck. And has staff with her to talk a little bit about employee insurance.
It's okay, I'm used to it. So Chad's gonna go first. He's just gonna go over kind of the mid-year projections, so we can kind of know where we're standing with that. And then I have a recommendation
From the
for insurance.
insurance committee, okay.
Hi all, so you'll kind of have the projected budget, or mid-year projection that we like to call it in front of you. It should look pretty similar to for those of you who have been here in the past. So what we do is we kind of look at 12-month time periods, from mid-year to mid-year. So when we actually have the spend and what we would consider the claims data for the health and prescription drug program of the Jefferson County government. So you see in the kind of the first column, July of 2021 to June of 2021, see 22 to 23 and 23 to June of 2024. July's data should be in here shortly, but this is kind of the most accurate data that we have right now. Overall, it has not been what we maybe have heard, maybe for those of you who speak with other counties or other local municipalities, who are seeing large increases. Jefferson County is faring better than most other counties, which is good. You'll notice that we do have more, so a contract on there. So you'll see in that first row, that means an employee. So when you see an increase in contracts, that means there's more employees that are going to be enrolled into the Jefferson County Government Health Plan. So even with the increase in contracts or increase of employees enrolled in the health plan, the overall medical spend is stayed pretty steady and is actually down over the same period of last year. One thing though, what we are seeing pressure of increase in it is prescription drugs. Any of you who follow the news or watch ads, just about every other one is some sort of high cost prescription drugs. I'm sure many of you have heard of the Ozempics and the Wegovys of the world that are impacting lots of health plans across the nation. So we are seeing some upwards prescription drug spend in here. And so, we take the projections. So essentially what we do is we look at how this most recent 12 months have been running, 12 months before that, 12 months before that, apply a weighting percentage and a trend factor. So we do, expect costs to go up over time. So apply that. Then we create a projection for the following year. And so in the following year, we are expecting a 4.81% increase in cost. This is better than last year. Last year, we were projecting a 12% increase in cost. The plan has run well this year. We are hoping to improve, and we're going to be doing some things to help manage the prescription drug spend this year. So we will be implementing some new programs effective January 1st to kind of help manage this drug spend in a way that it should not negatively impact employees, but hopefully positively impact the budget. It just takes some time for that to materialize. Unfortunately, these things kind of play out over the course of the year. And so hopefully next year we'll have a good start for you about how some of the programs that we implemented have improved. But overall, again, we're projecting a 4.81% increase in the health plan's overall costs going forward for the next budget.
Any questions on that?
Yeah, was the prescription, I mean, is 2.25 times what it was last year. You're right, every commercial on there, and I've seen the retail side of those prescriptions, and it's ridiculous. So what, can you give us any details on the plan to reduce that next year?
Sure. And so a lot of healthcare, we see the costs go up, but it's actually really driven only by a handful or actually a small number of individuals. So this isn't the people taking their day-to-day prescriptions or blood pressure medications. Some of these drugs that you maybe have alluded to, maybe you've heard of, something like a Humira or other injectable drugs. These drugs can cost anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 per year per person. And so all it takes is in this case, there was 2 to 3 employees who were prescribed prescription drugs and their dependents as well. So those, their family who were prescribed expensive medications that kind of led to the increase in costs. The prescription drug plan that we plan to implement, does a couple different things. So a lot of these drug manufacturers have what we call prescription assistance programs or manufacturer assistance programs, where if we are able to source the drug directly from the manufacturer rather than through a traditional like pharmacy chain, we can receive the medication at a significantly reduced cost, sometimes $0 depending on the income or the household member taking them. And so, we're gonna hopefully leverage those programs to the best of our ability. We also have some unique pharmacy direct to pharmacy relationships where we're able to cut out a lot of the middlemen and sometimes cut some of the more, maybe not the $60,000 cost medications, but the ones that can, the ones I alluded to, for example, I like to use Ozempic, we see it all the time, we hear about it. Through traditional pharmacy, those can cost anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 per month, so per month of fills. We have a partner where we're able to get the exact same medication, same box, for about $333 to $400 per fill. And so, compound that over many medications. Hopefully, we're going to be able to target some of these high cost specialty drugs. We will be able to reduce the cost. Problem is, we don't know how fast we're going to do it materialize. Typically, those programs can take 30 to 69 days to get people fully implemented and enrolled. So, our goal is to hopefully start making material impact on those as soon as possible. And hopefully this time next year, or maybe even earlier, as we kind of get into this, we'll have a better update of how well that program is performing. No problem. Any other questions that we can help address so far? Thank you.
Can you cover all the good news?
Yeah, yes. Okay, so I'm here to ask for more money per employee per month. So currently I had Brittany run numbers. When we switched to Harris, we didn't switch to like mid-September. So I don't have a full year. So mid-September last year to this year, August, we've done 1.4 million. So that's where we're sitting at with the 9,000. So we're just asking for at least $500 more per employee. That would give us $91,500 more for the year. One, just to make sure the bills are paid. Two, to kind of have just a little bit. We like to be able to do biometric screenings. And if we could do 1,000, then that would be $183,000 more a year. But if we could even do the 500, we would be grateful so that we can make sure we don't go negative in that account.
I'm assuming, been in the middle of budgets, I
Yes.
think technically obviously this
Right.
being budgeted in the commissioner's budget with the few pandemic exceptions. It's technically currently still at 9,000.
Yes.
Yes.
In front of me.
We've been at 9,000,
For a few
For a
years.
few years.
Yeah,
I would say 2020, maybe earlier.
I think 2020 was long good.
Since after 2020.
And I had in my brain, I don't know where, I said that yesterday, that I thought it had gone from 7,700 to 9,000.
I think it was.
Was that correct?
Yeah.
And I need to go back to look, but
Yeah.
we have been at that same amount for
I think
several
that
years.
was still when Sherry was here,
Yes.
so that would have been 21.
Okay.
21's budget.
To make the ask now then in a month, 1 month, yeah. Knee deep into number crunching. What other questions for Heather do we have as far as, obviously in that number we're mentioning now is obviously not, just covering insurance, that's kind of a benefit per employee line item, broken up, annualized, not per employee per month. Do we have any other questions for Heather and the staff regarding insurance specific?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all for being here. All right, we technically this evening have the second reading of the innkeeper's tax ordinance. And just to note on record, we did have multiple staff representing the tourism board and BMI representing the tourism industry. You have to work hard to do this research and put this proposal together. We're gonna switch around their schedules to be here tonight, and we let them know that probably wasn't necessary, that we're gonna just read through the ordinance. So I know both Andrew Forrester and Trevor Crafton both wanted to be here tonight, but we let them know that we would be reading this in its entirety, just like we did last month. So this is considered our second reading. I'll read through this quickly. This is ordinance number 2024-009. Ordinance of the Jefferson County Council approval increase in innkeeper's tax. Whereas in 1981, the state of Indiana Assembly enacted Indiana Code 6915 statute fund to support convention and tourism activities in Jefferson County through the levying of an innkeeper's tax. And whereas a room tax on overnight occupancy was originally enabled at a rate of 4% in 1981, it was expanded to 5% in 87. And whereas the state of Indiana collected these funds for Jefferson County through the Department of Revenue until the Jefferson County Council passed ordinance 2019-1 opting for local collection of the innkeeper's tax by the Jefferson County Treasurer. And whereas the Jefferson County Council further clarified the Board of Managers in reference to Indiana Code 6915 to be the Jefferson County Indiana Board of Tourism through passage of ordinance 2021-03. Whereas Indiana General Assembly passed Senate Bill 238 in March of 2024, which became Public Law 121, when signed by Governor Jay Holcomb on March 13, 2024, which amends Indiana Code 69-15-6 to enable Jefferson County to impose a rate of up to 8% innkeeper's tax until December 31st, 2045. Whereas in order to increase this tax, the county council must pass an ordinance adopting the increased amount. Jefferson County Council sees the benefit of imposing this increase to support tourism development, marketing, and capital expenditures that will further support and enhance the quality of life of residents and enhance the economic vitality of Jefferson County. Now therefore it be ordained by the Jefferson County Council as follows. Number one, the Jefferson County Council hereby increases the Jefferson County innkeeper's tax to 8% as allowed by Indiana Code 6-9-15, effective January 1st, 2025, sunsetting December 31st, 2045, unless otherwise changed by the Indiana Code for this council. Number two, the Jefferson County Council instructs the Jefferson County Board of Tourism in charge of these funds to set aside half the increase, which is 1.5%, or approximately 18.75% of total collected funds, to be set aside for tourism capital expenditures. Examples of such projects include investment in land, buildings, vehicles, equipment, and economic development projects that require multi-year pledges of support. The Board of Tourism maintains direction and control of these funds and shall expend them for any tourism-related purpose as directed in Indiana Code 6-9-15. Is that it? No.
Yes.
Yes, sorry. For
The
some reason,
only
I thought it was
other, we have the resolution from the
Yes.
city that I just
Yes,
have to attach with it.
And I know this board was aware that, it was, originally sponsored and brought to city council, by Councilmember Bartlett. This was indeed signed by Council President, Carla Krebs, as well as Mayor Bob Courtney. The city council, adopted, resolution supporting this as well. And their resolution is 2024-6C. I don't believe we have to read this.
No.
We just wanted to make sure that the county council knew that this was in full support of the city council as well. We gave some examples, obviously, at the last meeting of what these dollars could go to, making sure our taxpayers know this is not an added expense out of their pocket unless they choose to stay at one of our lovely overnight establishments for a night away from home. But obviously, we'll bring in substantial dollars, and we've seen many counties adopt the same increase across the state of Indiana this year, so it's gonna go well for us. And yeah, we I don't think had any significant questions last month during our first reading. So we can make the decision now. We would need a motion and a second and a vote to forego the third reading. That's within our jurisdiction and ability to do that, and then we can actually vote for approval this evening for this ordinance.
I motion to forego the third reading.
I second.
Okay. Motion by Pam and second by Dwayne. All those in favor, say aye. Those opposed, same sign.
I'd like to make the motion to pass the innkeeper's tax ordinance.
Okay.
Second that.
All right, so a motion by Gary Copeland, second by Pam Crozier, and this is again ordinance 2024-009. The Jefferson County approval of an increase in innkeeper's tax. Any further discussion, questions? All right, all those in favor of approval of this ordinance, please say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? All right, we will let them know that this is officially approved. All right. One more ordinance. We had, our first reading of ordinance 2024-8. This is the County Council and Board of Commissioners of Jefferson County, Indiana. This is regarding, the registration fees for sex and violent offenders. This is coming directly from the Sheriff's Department, and we did go ahead and have that first reading last month. Dwayne was so kind to read that so that I didn't have to read one more. So he's been so gracious to agree to read it one more time. So this is our second reading. Thank you, Dwayne.
Ordinance number 2024-8, date 8/13/2024, County Council and Board of Commissioners of Jefferson County, Indiana. Ordinance allowing the Jefferson County Sheriff to charge annual sex or violent offender registration fees and sex or violent offender address change fees. Whereas Jefferson County, Indiana, acting by and through the County Council and Board of Commissioners for the County of Jefferson, State of Indiana, pursuant to Indiana Code 36-2-13-5.6, and at the request of the Jefferson County Sheriff, desires to adopt an ordinance allowing the Jefferson County Sheriff to charge annual sex or violent offender registration fees and address change fees for sex and violent offenders. And whereas pursuant to Indiana Code 36-2-13-5.6, the annual sex and violent offender registration fee is hereby established as $50 per year for the registration of any sex and violent offenders, and $5 for each time a sex or violent offender registers an address and/or employment change with the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. Now, therefore, it is ordained by the County Council and the Board of Commissioners of Jefferson County, State of Indiana, as follows. 1, the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office is hereby authorized to charge a sum of $50 per calendar year for the registration of all sex or violent offenders living in and working in Jefferson County, Indiana, and $5 for each time a sex or violent offender registers an address change and/or employment, education, volunteering, and/or secondary residence changes within the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. And 2, the registration fee is due on a calendar year basis, regardless of when the offender registers initially with the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. The registration fee for the first calendar year is $50. For each subsequent year, the registration fee shall be paid between January 1st and December 31st of each subsequent year. A fee is considered delinquent if not paid by December 31st each subsequent year. 3, Jefferson County, Indiana now establishes a county sex and violent offender administration fund in the office of the Jefferson County Auditor, and the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office shall deposit all funds collected for sex and violent offender registration fees and address change fees into this account. The county auditor shall transfer 10% of any fees collected to the treasurer of the state of Indiana for deposit in the state Sex and Violent Offender Administration Fund, Indiana Code 11-8-8-21. 4, the Jefferson County Council may appropriate money from the County Sex and Violent Offender Administration Fund to an agency or organization involved in the administration of the Sex and Violent Offender Registry to defray the expense of administering or ensuring compliance with the laws concerning the Indiana Sex and Violent Offender Registry according to Indiana Code 36-2-13-5.6. In 5, any sex and violent offender who fails to pay their annual fee to the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office shall be subject to civil proceedings in a court of competent jurisdiction, including but not limited to Jefferson Superior Court, where they can be fined a maximum of $100 plus court costs and attorney fees for an initial offense, and up to $1,000 plus court costs and attorney fees for any subsequent offense. I think that's.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ray. All right. And the sheriff's here this evening. Does council have any questions specific? Not all things sheriff department, but specific to this ordinance before potential vote is made. And I assume, it doesn't clarify, but I assume the requirement and the smaller fee that is paid if a new address is established or new employment, that could be part-time or full-time. If they have new employer, that has to be disclosed and registered at them. What about that after last month's meeting? Do not ask. All right. So this is the second ordinance, so we really can follow, if this, council chooses to do so, to forego the third reading and also go ahead and vote to potentially pass this ordinance this evening.
I'd like to make a motion to proceed with the voting of this ordinance.
Okay, to forego the third reading and going forward with the vote. So that motion made by Ray Black. We have a second.
Second.
We had second by Chris. So all those in favor first to formally establish that we'll vote down the third reading. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Okay, and then is there a motion on the floor then for passing?
Make a motion that we pass this ordinance.
Okay, that's number 2024-8. Eight, yes, right, okay.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Dwayne May, second by Gary Copeland to adopt ordinance 2024-08. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I know that would be full support. Those opposed? All right, officially passed. Now comes the paperwork.
Right.
Yeah, make all that happen, and they actually pay that directly at the sheriff's department, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Next, we technically, Mike Pittman's on our agenda, our surveyor for some additional, but is Mike here? I've not seen him. I saw him yesterday, but I haven't seen him yet this evening.
I can discuss his,
Okay, I was gonna say, we'll right into additional transfers and appropriations, so we'll have the floor
so
from here.
he is requesting, from Fund 1202, which is Cornerstone Perpetuation, an additional $30,000 for contract services this year. Partially why this was needed, the person that does the contract work turned in a portion of his work from 2023. He actually turned it in 2024. So there was unused money in that contract line at the end of the year. The other part of this is he has covered a lot of ground this year as well in the cost of the cornerstone markers, especially those that are laid in the pavement, are fairly expensive. So they were wanting to do this to catch it up, and they're actually going to increase their budget a little bit for next year.
We're made aware of that already. It's an additional 30,000. Much 1202, what? Do we have a fund balance in that account?
Not one.
That's okay.
Yeah. There was enough for this
Yes.
addition and for the next year requested.
Talked about it yesterday.
Yeah, so,
But we were like this
this,
ongoing.
it wouldn't necessarily be able to withstand this type of a budget every single year. And this fund, the money comes from the recorder's report of
That's right.
collection. So as surveys are, recorded, as deeds are recorded, a little portion of that recording fee goes into this fund.
I remember that conversation when that was received. Yeah, I remember that.
And do we want technically that, and then, there's a couple extra, additionals as well that,
Right, there are
come in our
some,
full resolution. Do you want to go in through the next step?
I can go ahead and go through the next as well. So general repairs from Fund 1140, that is Coombe Courthouse. That is insurance, from where the storms in the spring, we actually received a new roof at the extension office and the health department, and a portion of that expense was reimbursed by insurance because of that. So we're putting that money back in that line item. The other items are actually, sheriff's department line items. And do you want to talk about it, or do you?
Up to you.
Okay, so, one of their requests, so the county general medical is a reimbursement for medical services that were provided to an inmate. Sometimes we get to recoup those, and we can put that back in medical so that we can provide services to others.
First reimbursement, or I assume insurance reimbursement?
This was for lack of nursing hours. So we're contractually obligated for X amount of nursing hours. So when they
Okay,
don't fulfill the contract, we're reimbursed
got it.
for those nursing hours.
So
That's where the
sometimes
money came from.
sometimes we do actually get it where a family pays for maybe dental work that they wouldn't normally receive, that the jail would pay for, but the family would then pay for.
This was specifically for additional nursing.
Yeah.
Right.
Hours, not less.
That's why it's so much.
And then, the 1,000 for garage and motors, $6,934.21 is, damage to a vehicle that has been repaired. That's insurance reimbursement. And then 1170, which is not Coombe, it is public safety lit. That is for Flock, which is that where the
Prosecutor's
city,
office,
the
yeah.
prosecutor has paid their portion of the surveillance cameras. I do not know what the jail maintenance one is. The top,
There's jail maintenance, which is for an inmate breaking a window in the facility, so we get reimbursement from that, from the courts. The inmate themselves has to reimburse us for that. And that's the same with the Coombe jail. And that was a sprinkler head. So we get reimbursed when they damage property and we charge them.
Prosecutor's been working with us and making sure that they charge them accordingly.
Give kudos to our judges and prosecutor and chief PD the last couple of days. We'll give them more kudos. Okay, so any questions for those five? Obviously all coming, well, with the exception of the medical and the garage and motors,
they're all mainly reimbursement.
yes. So any questions follow up for those? It's pretty easy there. And then, it's not already included, so we can go ahead and take a look at this resolution now and go ahead and vote to move forward with this. This is technically resolution 9. We just read and passed was 8. This is how we've been consistently doing this the last couple of years, where we lump these together to make it official. That total amount is $132,326.69. That's $65,692.36 to the Coon Courthouse, the $30,000 to the Cornerstone, which was referenced, for the, Cornerstone. So that was Mr. Pittman's explanation given by, Heather, and then the county general was the $120.76, and then the Coon Jail, those, last two, mentioning the broken window and the, sprinkler reimbursement back for those two total were $2,116.32. So that amount, again, totaling is $132,326.69. No other questions for Heather, clarification? For those reimbursed dollars. We would need to technically have a motion on the floor.
I motion to
Approve
move
that.
that approval, resolution 2024-009 in the amount of $132,326.69.
Okay, a motion by Pam, do we have a second?
Second,
Okay, second by Chris, all those in favor?
just a second,
Yes, sir.
hold up. Somebody please double check those numbers. I'm coming up with a little bit different number.
I will do that.
Maybe it's my calculator messed up.
Roger, another medical for the 120.
I came up with 131,926.
69, yeah, I did too.
Okay, I'm gonna let you, Heather, shut that out one more time, 131.
$131,926.69.
Okay, and just to clarify, the 211632 is correct, the 35. So, 692 and the 30,000, so I'm just making sure,
Had to
is the 25 or? Let's see.
let me see if this is carried over correct.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Great catch. That would have been caught, I know, when, those were entered, but. 1886. I think that was the difference technically. We have, for county general in 1025, 120-76 on the resolution sheet. And I believe that is the $24,720.75 would be the difference there.
Okay. I will update the resolution.
So you tell me as far as, I guess I'm not positive, sure, should we go ahead and,
We can.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
I'll
and-
amend my motion to, make a motion to approve resolution 2024-009 in the amount of $131,926.69.
and Chris, you had previously second that again. So before we vote, just so I know, before I send this around, if I initial the corrected amount, do you want to sign this or do you want to wait till?
Yeah, go ahead and sign
Copy.
that.
Okay,
That'd be fine.
okay. So all those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so I'm gonna pass this right here. I'm gonna pass this on this side, Dwayne. For approval. And this one coming around, Pam, to you is the first innkeeper's tax. I haven't done that and signed. Okay, I'm moving right along. Prior to any public comments, I think we've got a couple department heads up here that may have an update for us. Mr. Pickle, or they were with us today during budgeting, spent some time with us. Do either of you have any kind of update you want to share? You just want to stay with us longer? We feel very blessed. Usually they're nice to the council because everybody wants to ask us for money. I'm just kidding. They're pretty awesome. And I think Brandon, do you have anything for us? You're just listening here? All right. And is Matt out the door? And Matt, I think, may have something for us. He gave us a heads up this morning. I'm not sure our EMA director wanted to give us a little information about a possible project he's working on. Thanks, Matt.
So this will just really be kind of high level, for tonight, just some information I'm still waiting on from a couple of different agencies to get back with this, about. But, we'd like to see, a public safety boat allocated to us. If you remember just a couple of weeks ago, there were two big, I'm gonna call them cruise ships, which sounds kind of crazy. The cruise ships are coming up and down the Ohio River, but like both of those vessels, I think they house about 350 people. And, it's concerning because we have a lot of coastline in Jefferson County from Clark County to Switzerland County. I've tried to make that calculation and, my road hasn't been the right way, I guess, to get that actual number of how many miles that we have, but it's quite a few. And, considering all the other things that we have, a lot of commercial traffic, we have a lot of tourism come through here. We're the largest port between Louisville and Cincinnati. So we get a lot of people in and out. We have a full-time tourism boat that's down there as well. So we get a lot of people that come in, stop, go to Riverfest. I know there's lots of boats at parks, so like that. We got a pretty active port and, we have a huge boating population here in the county that sometimes needs some help all that bit. Sometimes unfortunately we have emergencies happen and people have jumped off the bridge and all that bit. And, our first call is to Milton, Kentucky, population 600 to take care of that issue for us. Which, I think really try to address the situation. There's a couple pictures here. So the Lake Assault boat, back in 2009, a lot of departments around Jefferson County, Kentucky, and Clark County, Floyd County, Harrison County started purchasing these boats through a Coast Guard grant. I put in for that. The budget, the way that worked out for us was going to be about $73,000 and some change if we got the award, and then we did not. Didn't make it through. So we did a lot of talking with all these agencies, and I spent the last couple of days talking with 4 different people from Miami's police and fire department down there about the boats that they use. And so the Lake Assault boat, a lot of them told us in Clarksville. I went to high school with James Hendricks. He's the assistant chief down there and over the project. He said this style of boat for the river can get a little tricky because it's kind of like driving with a sheet of plywood in front of you, you know, and with as powerful as the river can be under certain conditions, it's just not, it's not ideal. New Albany actually sank that red boat that you see there on the right, the Lake Assault boat. They sunk that twice because there's just some operational issues and conditions the way that boat's set up. The one on the left, the DGS Pro, the 26. New Albany has that boat. Matter of fact, that's the diagram and picture of that boat from the manufacturer's website. Miami, they say that these boats seem to be like the best thing since sliced bread for them. Operationally, that's the best like overall vessel that they have to tackle all the tasks that they're tasked with. They've been very instrumental in redesigning this boat. This company makes these out of this HDPE plastic material. All the void spaces inside of that boat are filled with foam. So the thing's virtually unsinkable. And I don't want to sound like the Titanic and all that bit. And sure enough, we're going to prove them wrong. But basically their stance on this is that we can cut this thing in half, or you can put enough weight on it to put it underwater, but as soon as you take that weight off, it's going to come right back up. And they're saying that the hull is probably like 20 to 25 years of lifetime. So we'd be replacing engines and different components on that thing before we'd ever have to address the hull. It's got some lifetime warranty on a few parts of that hull itself. We can beach it and not have to worry about a lot of issues coming. If we happen to get some kind of deep gouge in the thing, whatever, then then they can come up with a plastic welding machine and fill in that void and scrape it down flat, so. The hull really doesn't really be too much of an issue. There's a huge cost difference between the two of these things. I've got the actual, specs for the boat in the office, if you want to take a copy of both those and take a look at them. The original quote on the 2025 DGS boat was 330 something, I believe. I've got that quoted there. We talked with them about that. They've reduced that down to what you see there is 279, 519. The Lake Assault boat, that guy's not sent a specific quote back to us yet, but he told me that it's about $485,000. And I've asked him a couple different times, and he's not ever sent it to us because it's just so outrageous. Most of the people in Clark, Floyd County, all that area down there, all that business, once New Albany has gotten that boat and they've been out and used it a little bit, I think all of them are probably looking to do something very similar. We've talked about it a lot with Ben, talked to the city police chief, the Roberts and a lot of county fire guys, and everybody seems to be pretty happy with the proposal. And we think that's kind of the direction we need to get to. It's well powered, where the Lake Assault boat is not well powered the way that they have it currently in Clarksville. There was a lot of upgrades they asked us to, said that we probably should make for us to be really effective out there on the river because of that mass water just moves so much. We think that DGS Pro 26 seems to be probably the best thing for us. It bends, it flexes, more aluminum boats, things like that, aren't the best at that. Those welds can break apart a little bit. Got some great advice from a recently retired conservation guy that's here in town, that has spent more time on the river than anybody that I know. So he's a wealth of information, has been some great advice for us as well. So we think we're headed in the right direction. I think we've all come to an agreement that we'd like to see something like that happen. The city has allocated $100,000 to the project. So the difference I'm asking for that you'll see that is about 200,000. That's gonna get us, it'll get us a dry dock so we can get the thing out of the water and we can keep it on the water ready to go. There's a few other pieces I'm still kind of working on to try to get some commitments from some people. The insurance quote, I'm not sure why it's taking so long to get, but it's taking a bit. I've not got that back yet. I do have like all the suggested maintenance and things like that for this particular boat. We feel like we're making the best decision. And if we have some, extra ARPA money where we're getting some money from the city and come together as a combined group, then I think this would be a great opportunity for us and a great time to do that. Considering all the things that we've got on the horizon, this cruise ship kind of concerns me. And there's not a lot of water apparatus here. The Coast Guard is getting rid of all their boats. They've got one right now, and then that's gonna be it, to get rid of it. So the Coast Guard will be in Fort Taurus instead of on the water coming to help if we happen to have some problems and some issues. So,
Even for additional coverage for obviously an event like, regatta?
we have never had coverage for regatta from the Coast Guard ever. It's always been the Conservation Department that's come to help.
Okay,
Yep, and Kentucky has come a time or two.
They have to approve the
Yeah.
regatta,
Mhm.
but they don't come and cover it.
Yeah, they come to stop traffic, and that's what their involvement, they've got a radio, they stop bars.
So the Coast Guard's responsibility is the navigation. So they're responsible for the ATONs, the assistant navigation buoy markers. That's what they do. They've got a buoy tender out of Louisville that handles that. But as far as law enforcement or response goes, the MSO is downgrading down in Louisville, it's sector Louisville or sector Ohio Valley, and they're shutting down. So.
Yeah, I've asked for like every resource that anybody has got, and like these extra boats like that, since it was Coast Guard and sector money that was used for that stuff, they're supposed to be able to be called and used across the sector. And we've never had any response from anybody that's come up, so.
no additional, ideas on the horizon of any additional grants, obviously the grant that you applied for did not. You hope was promising and that was not
Yeah,
granted, so any other ideas in the near?
Honestly, for the amount of money, I don't think so. I've looked high and low. I think we waited a while and we probably should have acted a little sooner. I think we're sending so much money to other places and other things right now. FEMA just tapped out. They don't have much money. I know a lot of those grants like we could kind of count on for some operational things and stuff like that. Those are getting reduced significantly. and or if not, get separated and just like our proposal got voted, it didn't make it through the proposal process. So, I don't know where it would come from. So,
So, just so I'm sure, the city has pledged and guaranteed they give you 100.
Yep.
And so this 279 price tag, is that reflective of the 100?
no, that's total package.
Okay,
That's why I'm asking for 200 here. I
Okay.
did talk to, a company in Louisville about dry docks. They said that'd be about $10,000. We'll have a few things like some life jackets and some rings and stuff like that. We're responsible for all of it. I think some of that money we can find in some grants and or, get from other departments or something like that. I think we kind of be all in on that whole thing. Insurance is still a bit of an issue. We'd have to work that out with the city. And we know we can store it in Hanover. We have enough room in the logistics building there. And
So
insurance
winterized
comes back,
storage at the EMA building in Hanover.
Yes, and so the city police chief said we could use the city garage and or one of their ancillary buildings down there to house it during the summertime for response if we needed to. My hope ultimately is that we're able to get a dry dock and put that either at the marina or down there along, what's the restaurant down there called now, the Lighthouse, Old Lighthouse Restaurant. Yeah, and potentially have a space down there for it to just be ready on the water to go.
Is there any way that a boat like that we could render services for, monitoring coastline, if an event needed it or anything, would we get money back for doing that? Could you charge? For GMA or?
Honestly, I don't know. I think that probably would be something that would come from the county itself about whether we could or couldn't use a resource to charge some stuff back. I don't know. It's almost like to me, maybe like a snowplow or something like that. We clean roads and do things like that. I know we have a big boating community and a lot of times I have swam my boat to the barge dock or to the boat ramp a few different times. Because we just don't have a resource to get out there and, help tow people in and all that bit. So.
I could think the Swiss Wine Festival needed security, during their.
I think there's potential for that. They've been fantastic for us. Honestly, they've brought their fire boat up every regatta since I started doing that safety rescue.
So Jefferson County has a platform?
It's really small. It's the same platform as what Milton Fire Department has. It's a 21-foot flat bottom boat. And so you're talking 4 or 5 people on there at best just to be operational. And where something like this, we have a tow capacity. And we can get passengers off and move them quickly if we need to do that on some bigger vessel. And we can even tow some, bigger vessels to the bank and get them out of harm's way if we need to do that.
I do think it would be smart for us to see, and even some type of sample, rescue boat, policy and procedures from another county in New Albany or somebody that has one. But obviously just the cost of the boat's one thing, but, our involvement in looking at what is our yearly maintenance gonna be, and I know that's moving target and you can't predict if the boat's got, that would damage and we didn't budget for it, but insurance, obviously, and details with that insurance that had come up before. I know, who would be permitted to drive, what type of qualifications and or any safety certifications have to be held for someone to be able to drive the vehicle. But I definitely, insurance costs, a rough estimate on what other counties are spending for maintenance, obviously additional fuel, so kind of what would a standard, addition to your budget look like?
Sure.
If this were added?
SRO for it.
Yeah, I'd say, if you could gather that, well, I guess one other silly question, this particular quote for this particular boat actually has a photo right here. I assume if this one sells, they got another one ready, or is this
So
is
we're
literally?
talking anywhere from 12 to 15 month lead time. So when we sign a
Okay,
contract,
that's what I was
it's
gonna-
from 12 months to 15 months to get that.
And then you feel like they're gonna honor this even if, this is a,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Matter of fact, the guy I talked to in Miami, he's been instrumental in kind of helping redesign that whole boat. Cause this platform is built for like the Brazilian military of all places. And he's even like visited the factory down there. He's a huge believer in the boat and the system there and they've redesigned it to give it a softer look, of course, because it's law enforcement fire and in our neck of the woods, we don't want military boats, scaring people off and all that. And so he's a believer that they're probably gonna put 2 or 3 of them on order and get those things going because they just believe in the platform that much. So we've got some potential policies that we're looking at how we're taking care of training and all that bit. My brother's been through NASBO training. He was an NASBO instructor for a handful of years. I know Ben's got an extensive history in operations. So, I think that those things will be fairly easy for us to work out. I think there'll be an overall SOP for sure. Not anybody in will be driving this thing. There'll be a select few people that'll be available for, 24-hour coverage if we happen to need that. Or we can call on one of those few people to come in and take operation of the boat and operate that way. Just as time comes.
I'm curious, stats too, and I know our community festivals acreage of our riverfront within our county is obviously different than maybe in New Albany, but yeah, I'd be curious if other counties that have one, river communities, does it go out? Did it go out 3 times in the whole year last year? Was it out, 3 times a month and, was highly utilized? I'd just be curious. I know it sounds great to have, but yeah, I'm just curious to know utilization rate, how often it's needed.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's hard for us to kind of compare Miami to where we're at. So I totally get it, totally understand. So. All right.
No, but I appreciate the information, yeah, early stages. Any other questions for Matt about this specific?
But I'll get some hard information from some people before.
Things like, like diving maneuvers, sometimes they have divers training in the river, and so we can get, money back for that, if we use that boat and stuff like that. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you. So any other comments from department heads that are here? Concerns to the board, and then quickly, before we take any public comments, anyone on the board, I know we have not been giving monthly updates, for any committees that we represent, sometimes those are tied in, to existing business, and then even kind of the departments that we are liaisons for. Does anyone on the council have anything they need to report from any community committee that they represent?
Yeah.
Department?
Yeah, on EMA, Matt True wants a vote.
Thank you, Dwayne, our comic in the room. We'll chalk that up.
Yeah, that's what we talked about.
Yeah, yeah. I know the council heard a little update. I had just been at a public defender board meeting and we got, great reimbursement this quarter. Things are going really well with compliance for public defender. Devin is doing a great job as our chief public defender. Good reimbursement dollars coming back to the county. Anything else as far as business questions, concerns from the council? Do we have any public comment? If we do, we just need you to come to the podium, take about 3 minutes, just state your name and address. If you have any questions or comments for us. Not quite as stressful as last month's meeting. Just kidding. We had a lot of public comments. Good feedback though. Great questions last month. Yeah, we appreciated a packed house last month. All right. If there's no additional,
Motion to adjourn.
we'll take a motion to adjourn, made by Ray Black. It is 5:63.
Second.
Second by Ray Denning. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We will